by the end of this video, you are going to learn the basics of animations. You're going to learn how to add keyframes and animate this bouncing ball. So you're going to learn how to add keyframes from the start, from the basics, and you're going to learn how to create this awesome little animation. So let's get straight into it. So the first thing you need to know is what is a keyframe. So a keyframe is a marker in a specific time that stores a value of a transformation. So as you can see, the transformations in Blender is the location, rotation, and the scale. So we're going to be adding keyframes in specific frames to store a property value. So that is like the scientific definition from Google. So I will show you in the simplest way. So the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to get a cube. So let's get a cube, and I'm going to show you how to add keyframes to this little primitive shape. So there's lots of ways to add keyframes. Now the first way to add it is press N to get our little transform panel over here. Now to add keyframes, you need to have your timeline. So we're going to move this up, and we're going to change this to our timeline. And as you can see, if we press the space bar, then our timeline will start to play. And as you can see on our top left, you will see its FPS, frames per second, which should be around 24 to 26. So let's quickly move that back. Now to add a keyframe on a specific location, rotation, scale, or on a specific transformation, what you just have to do is hover over it and press I. It's that easy. So I'm going to add a keyframe at the specific frame, which is going to be 1, and I'm going to add a keyframe on the location. So hover over it and press I. So then once you have done that, you'll notice that we're going to get this yellow little diamond, and which will just tell you that it's a keyframe on that specific frame. Now this tells you at frame 1, the cube is going to have a X value of 20.5, Y value 0.1, and then a Z value 1.2. Okay, so now let's move this frame up to 30, and then we're gonna quickly move this cube, G to grab, and move it over here. And now you'll notice that our location transformation will change its color to orange from yellow, so yellow to orange. Now this tells us that this transformation have changed and altered from the keyframe values, and this just shows us that we need to add a keyframe in order for us to proceed. So we're going to add a keyframe over here at frame 30. I had to add a keyframe, and when we add a keyframe, it's going to turn yellow. And as you can see, when we play this, it's going to start moving, because at frame 30, it's a value over here. Over here, it's going to be over here at frame 30. It has to be there because it's a keyframe. And then at frame 1, it's going to be right here. Now we can actually add a keyframe between that. We can add like a little rotation like that, and then we can actually just keyframe this like this. But as you can see, nothing would actually happen. Why? Because we didn't record the rotation. We didn't keyframe the rotation at the start. So in order for that to happen, we're going to make this 0 and make it press I over here. And as you can see, now it's going to start rotating, because it's going to go from 0 to that specific value. And as you can see, that's literally how we add keyframes. Now another way to add keyframes is super simple. It's just pressing the I key. So I to add a keyframe, and we'll add a keyframe to the location, rotation, and the scale. And then we can move this to like frame 50, and let's scale this up and grab it over here. And I to add a keyframe, you'll notice it will start to move. Now the whole point of keyframe is that it's going to have a smooth transition between those keyframes. As you can see, the Blender is the best software because it literally shows you the smoothest transformation between those 2 points of values. Now another way is like the K value, the K key. So you can press K, and then you can insert a keyframe at a specific thing, location, rotation, scale, location, rotation, and all of the other ones. For example, location over here, then you can move it to like frame 52, grab it around here, K, and add a location, and then as you can see, it will move. So now you know the basics of adding keyframes in Blender. What we're now going to do is that we're going to start animating a bouncing ball. Okay, it's not going to be that hard. Same thing, but we're just going to make it more advanced and more complicated, so it actually looks good. We just don't want a cube flying around having no purpose. So Shift A, and let's add in a plane. Scale it up, and that should be the floor of our bouncing ball. And then Shift A, and we're going to add in a UV sphere, and we're going to move it up so it's above our plane. We're going to shade smooth this, and then we're going to add in a basic material. So in over here, material, add a new material, and we're going to make it blue so it contrasts with the floor so it actually looks, you can actually see it clearly. So now we have done that, we are now going to start animating, and I want this ball to start from over here, from the top. Okay, so now we're going to go to frame 1, and we're going to add a keyframe to all of the values, because we want to actually scale it up on the Z axis and scale it up over here and down over like this, because we want to get this elastic bouncing effect as well. So we're going to add a keyframe on the location and the scale. So we're going to add I location on the keyframe on the location, and I to add a keyframe on the scale as well. Now let's move this up to frame 30, and now I'm going to examine how fast or slow we should do. Now there's no perfect frame to go to, you just need to examine it, and we can actually move the frame. Let's move this down to like over here, where it's going to be touching our little floor, and we're going to add a keyframe over here and a keyframe over here, and as you can see, it is moving down. And now you'll notice that when it's moving, it's gonna start off slow, then it's gonna increase the speed in the middle, and then it's gonna slowly ease off like that. Now you can change the interpolation to linear. Right now it's busier. You can change it in linear, but we're gonna keep it as busier because it's gonna get too advanced. We're gonna actually do something advanced with graph editors with keyframes later in the tutorial series, and now you can't wait for that as well. So first thing, once you have done that, we added a keyframe over here. Now I want to add a squash effect like this. Now, but I was noticing that this was too slow, so we can just move this keyframe to like frame 20 to add that little fast effect. And then what we're going to do, we want to get that squash effect. And now you'll notice when we add the squash effect, you'll notice that we're going to have to, let's say over here, want to be squashed over here, like down there. Let's move it down like this, like that. And I to add a keyframe over here, both of these values. Now you'll notice that it starts to bend, it starts to squish squash itself before it even touches the floor. Now the problem with this is that it's not realistic. Now a ball doesn't squish onto each other without even touching the floor. So we're going to have to add a keyframe which supports this to over here before it even touches, like around here, frame 16. We're going to change the Z value back to 1, and we're going to add a keyframe over here. Now that just tells Blender that it starts squishing the ball right at 16 over here. Okay, so it's going to go like this and squish, and that looks super good. Now once we have done that, we're now going to animate this going back up. So around frame 24, grabs on the Z and scale it up. So I'm going to change this to 1. And grab it on the Z, move it up like that, and I to add a key from the location and the scale. As you can see, we create this cool thing looking super good. And what you can actually do as a challenge from me, you can actually animate this ball going like this. For example, make the ball bounce like this, and that should be looking amazing. Okay, so now we have done this, let's make it go even up. So around 30 frame, let's make it go up. And what we can do is scale it up to add this elongated effect. And animation is all about effect. And it doesn't have to be realistic. Anyways, stylized. And look at that. And that looks amazing. And then at the end, we want it to have the same thing as the first keyframe, because we want to make it a loop. So we're going to do Shift D and copy this keyframe. And what's going to happen is that the first frame is going to be the same as the last frame, which will make it a looping effect. So then what we're going to do, change the end frame to, it was 36. So start is 1, end is 36. And then when we play this, as you can see, it will create this looping effect. Now, as you can see, with this elongated effect, it actually does the little pause here. And probably because, let us quickly see why is there a pause. So it goes like this and then it starts like that. Yes, I get it. So what I'm going to do is actually delete this one, make it end at 30. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually copy this keyframe, Shift T, and make it start elongated to get that actual little effect. And look at that. And you can actually tweak this even further if you want, and that looks perfect. And now you guys know the basics of adding animation to your primitive shapes, to basic shapes. Now in our next video, we're going to actually animate something more complex, like a armature, for example, over here. So then this boring lifeless mushroom can come to life, making, jumping, and doing lots of awesome stuff. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in my next video.